If you want freedom and flexibility, you have to pay for that, and you have to be willing to let go of control.
For those listening, you have a small agency and you can't do it. Well, if you buy from lead companies, ask them to help you. They will help you. They care because they get paid on how many leads you buy.
In today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with elite agent Beau Vincent of Conviction of a Leader podcast, and we're breaking down and talking about the agency of the future, pushing through fear and adapting to change, because you're either going to adapt or you are going to die. And that's exactly what we break down in this episode of what the agency of the future is going to look like and the numbers that you need to know on a monthly basis to run a successful agency. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver. And we have an amazing guest on today, elite agent Beau Vincent with the Conviction of a Leader podcast. What's going on, Beau?
What's up? Courtney and Michael, long time coming. Honestly, I'm so pumped to be here. Super excited to just talk. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but I know it's going to be amazing. And it's going to have to do with insurance, maybe like conviction of a leader, maybe. I don't know. The conviction of a leader. Yeah.
I am so ready for this. Like, I'm over here like, let's freaking go. Okay.
Let's go.
So I want to talk about what you're seeing in our industry that maybe is a problem or an issue, or like, what's the thing that has you going, why are we still doing that? Or what is the thing that you see agents struggling with that you can offer some insight on?
Wow. Well, quite a few things, but I'm going to start with leadership. Let's start there. A lot of people got into insurance because they wanted to be the neighborhood agent. And they thought, I will get to control maybe my hours in this business. Maybe I can add some equity. I can control a little bit of the business. But then there's people that I'm seeing more and more that want to take, and I'm not saying I'm the first guy that came into insurance to do this, but 5 years ago I bought an agency and I looked at it as a business that I could scale, that I could grow, but I could also sell something that mattered. And a lot of the people before me got into insurance so that they could help the neighborhood people. They could be the neighborhood agent. They could do the reviews. They could, make the sales. They could sponsor every baseball team and really thought locally. What I'm seeing now is that people are realizing that they need to be globally within their state, within the areas they're allowed to bind business, and they want to grow and they want to scale. What I'm seeing, Courtney, is that so many people are struggling to let go. They've white-knuckled the ownership and leadership, and they don't want to let go of it. I'm the best at reviews. I'm the best at selling. This is my business, my money, my this, and I want to do it all. But I also want to be really big and scale like Beau did, and some other people, Michael and Courtney and I know, that have really scaled at a high-speed level. And they ask that, and they say, I want to do this, but I don't necessarily want to give up this and this because I'm the best at it. But that comes down to leadership, is that leadership has been the key thing that can help you grow your business, scale your business, delegate. It can help you retain people. So we know retention has been a part, not just retention of the actual policy, but retention of the employee. It's been extremely competitive with recruiting people, but comes down to the key of leadership, right? Leadership is that key. The consistency that a leader brings and the vision that they bring is extremely important to the growth and the scalability of that business. Well, if I am willing to delegate and give up more, then we can scale more. And I also think there is an amount of money that it costs out of your pocket. So if you're somebody who's done these things and you have to delegate through hiring, it's going to cost money to do. And there's a lot of people that don't want to give up the money or the investment into the short term of maybe I need a customer service manager because I've always done the reviews, or maybe I need a sales leader or sales manager because I've always done the sales. So I'm seeing that there's a lot of people wanting to move towards scaling this like a business versus always being that 1, 2, 3 man office down the road that works 9 to 5 and that's it. And there's really nothing wrong with that, Michael or Courtney. I think that if you came in to do that, keep doing it, and you can learn from people in the industry doing it slightly different, but that may not be your goal. But I'm seeing that at least the top agents right now, or those that are aspiring to be top insurance agents in America, are wanting to scale, and they want to scale at a high level. And it costs money and delegation. So being a better leader is going to help that.
I want to unpack this a little bit more because you're in the captive space.
Yes.
And when I start hearing scaling with a captive agent, there's a different mindset there because you're looking at, what do I own here? So talk to me a little bit about what your mindset is behind scaling your captive agency to the degree that you want to, and maybe like what your exit strategy is. Like, what's this whole thing for?
I think that, man, that's such a great question. So, well, first off, scaling and why. There's two sides for that. What's it look like? Well, I pictured it to be something that it isn't today. And that's funny because I only got into insurance in 2019. And would you two agree that since 2019 it's changed like dramatically? I mean, we're talking.
Doesn't even look the same. Not even kind of the same.
It's so different.
Yeah.
COVID, political environment, economy, whatever, has totally changed insurance. And I actually think for the better in my mind, because my past career, I was a remote leader of multiple states and areas. And guess what I did? I could only see people every 60 to 90 days. It worked out perfect when 6 months after we opened, we had to go remote because of COVID. So what does it look like? Well, it looks like a remote environment. And I think that captive agencies are going to find their value in sales. Being sales centers is really where it's going to be at. And Michael, that's right up your alley. I know when I say that, I hope you're getting excited like sales. Tell me about sales.
Hey, man, that's why we do what we do, baby. Let's do it.
Yes. So I think there are sales centers. And I think that as a captive agency, where we may position, and by the way, I do not speak for my carrier. I don't speak for anybody. This is just what I'm gathering and what I've gathered. If I even owned and ran a publicly traded company, what I might be thinking is that I'd like to take service off of everybody's plates in the captive industry. Doesn't matter where you're at. Let me figure out how to take that off of all of your plates so we can have a consistent brand of customer service. But we need these local agents that are going to be 10x the size they used to be 10 years ago, are going to have the money for marketing and staff, and they're going to become high-level call centers for sales. So I think that's where the future could hold for captives. That is not what I signed up for, by the way, to essentially run a high-paced call center. But guess what? I love change and I love selling and I love leading sales leaders. So for me, it works out perfectly fine. I didn't sign up for it, but you know what? I adapt. You adapt or you die. And I think that's where we're headed. And if you look at most comp statements from all the captives we work with and independents, there is so much more money up front than there is on the renewal now. They are actually taking away from this sit on a book and build it type of business. And we'll give you a lot more money to just keep growing. Don't stop growing, keep growing. We're going to take a little from the back and double the front, is how I've seen it. So I would like to think that they put their money where their mouth is, and they're directing us without telling us in the captive world, this is where you need to go. So I think that the market is changing, and how you market it is also changing. And I think that as captives grow, do I know if I'm going to be able to sell? No, I would love to know that. But if there's, like legacy I talked about, I have 3 sons. If there's a possibility I could still give to my kids someday, that'd be great. But the more I talk, Michael, and I don't want to scare people out of like this captive world, the more I talk though, there's a possibility that most captives will only have the opportunity to give it back to their big company someday. So that has not been written. That is not like something that's private. It's just my maybe projection is that maybe someday down the road, I maybe can give it back to the big company, sell it essentially to them at a slower multiplier than the market is today. Or I can keep my son running it, or the generation running after that. And that's kind of where I see it going. Like I said, I don't have a crystal ball, but I think I can read pretty well into the next couple years though.
Yeah, so okay, you just unloaded a lot. So let's break this down. So
yes.
I do believe that the sales centers are going to be somewhat of an agency of the future, and we can kind of break down what that looks like to be an agent of the future. But I think I also am in the camp of I believe that servicing commissions are going to continue to get cut. I would say even from where they're at today, you can expect half, probably 5 years from now. this is just Michael
totally
Weaver's.
agree.
This is just Michael Weaver's opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody, but I also see that the upfront commissions will actually increase, and so they are going to incentivize you to be producing production machines, just like you said, cell centers.
Yes.
Now, with that being said, I also still think that there is space for those individuals that signed up for this to be that hometown agent. And I think that there's room for both to play in. And the one thing I never want to portray to anybody as a fellow entrepreneur or business owner is just because you scale, that doesn't equate to more freedom. I know a lot of business owners that have 30, 40, 50 employees that are legitimately on their phone all the time talking to people. And so just because they have multiple offices or they have multiple employees and big teams, you have to set it up in a manner that's going to allow you to have the business that you want. So if you want freedom and flexibility, you have to pay for that. And you have to be willing to let go of control. And so you unloaded a lot, like marketing. We could dive into that. Like you unloaded so much in that 2 or 3 minutes.
Now
I'm
that
like,
you say that, I'm like,
oh
yeah,
shit!
did I
Like,
overload?
where are we going to dive into this? But there are a lot of really valuable points there that I don't. Where you want to go with this?
Well,
Court?
okay, so let's go in the conversation that we had on the way back on a road trip yesterday, because it's your point, Beau, when you're talking about the mindset of the carrier. And I think a lot of the times we only see it from the position that we're sitting in. Like we're in the forest and we can't see through the trees. And it's, okay, wait a minute. If I'm the carrier, because I think the thing that we miss a lot of times in entrepreneurship is anticipating the next big moves. Like we're reactive instead of let me proactively prepare for what's coming from the carrier.
Yes.
So you brought up like looking at it from the mindset of the carrier, and you believe, and Michael, we have talked about this too, where if you're running a business, we incentivize the same way. We're incentivizing new business more than we are servicing commissions, because it's a different game. We're in the profit business. So we're looking at, okay, if I'm going to backfill what I'm losing, it has to be on the front end. So talk a little bit about what you think is going to happen, or what you guys are seeing from a new business commission. Where are the carriers focusing? So the agent listening can go, oh, I want to be the agent of the future. Where should I be focusing?
Yeah, that's, man, so good and so true. I think that you should be focused on the front, and I don't think you should focus on bad business. They want good business. I think a lot of the carriers have realized, big companies have realized, there's a commodity to selling, right? Sales is a commodity. And they realize how hard it is to replicate that. I would actually say, I don't want to offend anybody, but I would say I get a lot of applications for service, and they do it pretty well. A lot of the people I interview. I don't get a ton of like sales applicants that do it very well at a high level. So I think sales is a commodity. And I think they've realized that, man, it's really hard to replicate that in a corporate, big corporate scale level. Can they figure it out someday? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Maybe they won't put the energy there. Maybe they'll say, we want agents like Beau to continue to be the one that drives that, because maybe Beau drives 10 to 20 people versus us driving, thousands of people at a call center to sell. So I think that's the future, and I think that they are all. I had to add this up for a different podcast, and I just want to tell you, like, you didn't ask for it, but I've consulted with 84 individuals in the last 2.5 years that own businesses. I'm not talking about their team. I'm talking about agency owners, 84 now. I also had 30 go through my leadership academy, so we had 110. And then you had another, I did a referral training class too. So I think I'm somewhere around 150 individual agency owners I've worked with, and I would tell you that they all have realized that selling is the new retention. So we used to worry so much about retention and being 90. We got to be 98 retention. We got to be 95, 90. It just keeps dropping, right? With at the end of the day, companies are picking people up for he's a jolly good fellow for all the people that sell. And they never mention their retention, by the way. So I think that big business is important and good business, but they have made it very clear across all these companies that selling is the way of the future. And we see companies, I don't need to name them, but you hear about them all the time. They're leaving California. They're leaving Florida. They're leaving New York. Well, who's filling behind them is growing. They've
That's
just
right.
figured out a way to profitably grow. So these companies have put underwriting and expectations to make sure that you can only write what you can write. And when you can, it is extremely priced effectively to gain those market share, but they're showing you with their pocketbooks that spend your money up here, we're gonna replicate that. We're gonna pay you more money. We are slowly want you to forget the years of like grow a business, sit on it. That's not where we're going anymore. We need you to build up front. And quite frankly, Michael, there could be a day where we don't even know how many customers we have because we don't really keep them. Maybe we're the upfront generator.
See, that's
The company keeps them.
So this is what's interesting to me is because when you have carriers, what happens is agents' visions follow the carrier's vision, typically and traditionally speaking, because that's how you're going to be incentivized. So when the sun is shining, we're making hay. Like obviously the insurance company wants to grow. So what are they incentivizing right now?
Growth.
Sales. The interesting thing, and I'm not going to mention any company names right now, but there is a company I just talked with a leader of, and 57% of their current business was all written in the last 3.5 years. What's going to be, and this is a big player. This is a
Major
big
turnover,
one.
yeah.
So what happens is when you're so focused on sales, what happens with that 57% of new business over the last 3 years? Are they going to retain like traditional clients? Or are you going to lose them? And then it's like, and then you're just chasing. So
then you're
what's
outrunning
going to be
your
really
churn.
interesting is how do you sell and retain at the same time? And to answer your question, specifically what I believe the agency of the future, and I've been very outspoken about this, but I believe that companies are looking for predictable, profitable revenue. As a business owner, as an agency owner yourself, you want predictable, profitable revenue. What gives you that? Financial services production, life insurance and annuities, specifically with the age that we're going into. Over the next 10 to 15 years, you will see the largest transfer of wealth that we've ever experienced as a country. What company is going to put themselves in the position to make sure that they take advantage of that? And what agency owners are going to put themselves in the position as, I am your financial services expert that also does your P&C insurance. And if you can be that person, if you can be that company, and if you're a corporation listening to this right now and you want help, please contact me, because that's what we're doing. That's what we're teaching agencies to be doing. That is the agent of the future, in my opinion.
Man, that's good. You know what I started thinking as you were talking about that? Who is the biggest customer for these financial companies? And why don't we press the rates for P&C to be better for those potential financial clients? And why don't we make their home and auto cheaper and more competitive so we can attract them in, make them captive to our agency, our company, and that way we can market to them for financial services. And I've seen, Michael, I've seen a lot of these big companies I've worked with. I mean, I'm not going to name them, like you said. I've worked with a lot of them though over the past 2 years, and I'll tell you, I've seen most of their big like company sponsored meetings are paid for by financial companies now, because they are taking that over. And I've seen a renewed focus on it in the last 2 years like I've never seen, even before.
Oh, look, and this is not me to say that you do not need to be growing your P&C book, because you do.
Yeah.
You need to be growing that thing at an exponential rate, a minimum $1 million a year in P&C premium produced, because that's how you're going to attract new clients to figure out who you are, because you're still considered the P&C insurer. It doesn't matter what big name we're talking about, State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, like doesn't matter. Customers look at you as the auto home, but how can you? So you have to attract them. You got to grow your P&C. You need to be crushing it, but then you have to solidify that relationship and brand yourself as the financial expert so that you do become the money guy or gal to your customer.
Right. Wow. I mean, that's huge. I think
and that's why I believe agents will never,
Yeah.
that's why I don't think agents have to worry about being replaced over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, because you are the front. You are the front line. You're the one building the relationships, and you're the one that is going to be specifically responsible for that brand and what that brand means moving forward.
So true. Man. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think I'm glad you brought it up, because I may not have mentioned it. So I'm glad that you did, because I think it makes sense. And I know that too. I just didn't really think about connecting it. But yeah, I think bringing in the right customers, but providing service well beyond P&C is huge into the financial world, because I saw a report the other day. Number 5, Courtney, number 5 for the most unlikely business to be replaced by AI and robots, financial services. So now trades was majority of the first ones. If you think about it, are we going to have robots?
We were just talking about this.
We
Right?
just had this conversation in the car yesterday.
It's true, right? We're going to have robot plumbers? No, probably not. So not for a long time. So financial services falls right in there. And it was number 5 on this report. And I'm like, man, I feel like I fall under that because of what I provide. I'm licensed with Series 6 and whatnot. So I mean, I'm able to sell a lot of those products and financial products and broker them. And I believe like this, I see the value, and I understand why they see the value. Financial companies see the value in P&C because of how we get the same customers they get.
Yep. And here's the thing with how you're leading, Beau, and I know you're going to do this. If this is a market that you decide, bam, I want to tackle, you're not going to be the one helping them out with their investments. You're going to hire a professional, and you're going to lead that professional to come in and run your investments department.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this got started. I mean, it can go a lot of different ways on how this got started, our conversation. But we were watching football last Thursday night, and you can get an insurance quote. Like, you can literally just snap your phone. You can get a quote from all of
Amazon Prime.
Yep. We were on Amazon Prime watching it. And then you start thinking about, how do I become irreplaceable? And that's what I want every insurance agent to think about. Like, what does that look like when I move forward with all of this tech? I mean, Elon Musk has a robot that now allows you to take a picture. Like, I see you want to take a picture. Would you like me to take that picture for you? So we started having this conversation of, what does this look like in this industry? And I always go to, where are the most questions? Where do people get like, I have some questions? And it's always around money. It is always around like, where do I put it? How do I save it? How do I make sure I don't run out of it? So I don't know that that's the direction we were intending for this podcast to go. Okay. But I think it's just so fascinating because as fast as everything is changing, as fast from 2019 to where we're at right now, it's just going to continue to move in like warp speed. So we have to be thinking, what does my business look like?
So to circle back around to what you kind of started with, Beau, and leadership, what has been a struggle that you've went through that you felt like you were bottlenecking your business? Because that's where I find, like, me personally, I'm a recovering control monster. Yeah. So whether it's a personal experience you've had, or you working with an agent to go through that phase of the control of the bottlenecking of the business, what would you say if somebody right now is like, I definitely fit in the camp of, I'm a control monster, I'm bottlenecking my business from growing and scaling? Where is one place that they can start to be able to prepare for what we believe agencies of the future are going to look like?
I can't believe I didn't even say this, Courtney, to your question. Remote is the most obvious beginning. I don't know how I didn't talk about that. We're at 13 employees now, and 11 are remote. The only reason we have 2 internally is because I'm required to have an office, and that's the main truth. I'd probably have a P.O. box if it wasn't for that. So I bounce back and forth once, maybe twice a month, but we have 2 work and the rest 11 are remote. So I think that's a big direction of the future is remote. And if you're not remote because of fear, you know what I hear the most, Michael, for why people don't want to go remote? I love seeing people, talking to people. And you know what I always hear, Michael? You know what the best leaders are not? Selfish. I love people. I love cultures in the agency. I love this. That's what I hear from agents that own agencies and they won't go remote. It's always I is the beginning of the sentence. I struggle with, culture. I struggle with getting them to do their job. I struggle with sales. It's always I. Now, I will tell you this, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. A lot like you, because you just said you were a recovering control freak. So this is not a shot at you, because I love you. I have learned that the majority, not all of them, control freaks, there's 2 control freaks. One, they are just amazing at what they do, and their speed is so fast others can't keep up, which is probably you. Your brain thinks at a high level, you complete things at a high level, and you're already moving on when other people are thinking about, how do I start this project? Michael's like, I'm done. That's the one side. The other side is fear. I think fear holds a lot of people back from accomplishing remote, accomplishing the way of leadership because they're fearful. You lose control. I'm afraid to give up control, which means I could lose control of my culture, my sales. People could take advantage of me. My business could be done in a very short amount of time. And guess what, Michael? I'm telling them to come back in, or I'm hiring people for in-house again. I've been through this thing before, and no one ever wants to work in remote, and they're doing their laundry and their dishes and their kids and the dog. And I've heard it. And it always comes down to one. I always talk about, Michael, you need some guts. If I walked up to Mike Tyson and I slugged him, does that mean I have guts? No, it means I'm dumb. So, okay, now if I am Jake Paul and I practice boxing for years and I think I can take him on, I get a level of guts. You know what guts comes from? Knowledge. And
action.
Repetition, action, and knowledge. So I get more guts the more I learn and the more I repeat it. So find somebody with guts that's done it, like me, like Michael, that can help you, give you the plan. And that's kind of what the Conviction of a Leader is all about anyways, is the podcast is really about finding leaders like you two and saying, show us the way of how you've gotten to where you're at today. So you got to find somebody that can show you remote, especially if you're struggling, you have fear. There are, probably 10 failures to every 5, a couple success stories of remote. People stole my equipment. They didn't send it back. I tried to hold their paycheck. You can't do that. So you gotta have somebody that can show you the way that's done it successfully. And let me be honest with you. I'm going to be a little raw right here. We were on this huge trajectory. Grow every month this year. And we are up 60% over last year. And last year was our largest year. So think about that. Now, the snowball is growing, but so as my expectations, my budget, my marketing, my remote. And, in times of where things start to feel like the snowball might be shrinking instead of growing as fast or staying the same size, you start to think, as a leader, we think, where do I need to insert myself more right away? Is kind of the thought of where do I need to insert myself? I'm the man. I can do this, right? But I think it's more about what I'm learning is that where can I help others get over the hump? There's always this growing pain to get to a level you've never been to before. You want to be at a level you've never been before. You have to do something maybe you've never done before or never done well. Because you've done it and failed does not mean that that's not the way to go again. It just means that you might need somebody to hold your hand this time. You might need a big brother Michael in front of you to push the way out and say, I got you this time. I'll show you the way. So just because you've done it and it's failed doesn't mean that it was the wrong path. It might have been the wrong shoes. I don't know. So we can help, but I think that's the way it's going is remote. And I think that was obvious to me because I don't picture agencies coming back in full force and having 100, as we grow these sales centers, having 100 sales centers in every state with 100 people, but the owners own it now. I don't picture that. I picture remote.
I love that you just said that. I love that you just said that. And you brought up, and you said 10 failures to 5. I think it's 10 to 1.
It's probably
honestly.
10 to 1, yeah.
Because the thing that I always remind myself is that nothing happens in a vacuum. So as long as you keep going, it's the thing that's leading you to the next thing. It's when you stop and you're paralyzed and you don't take any action, that's where things start to get a little tricky. So I'm curious because you did have a vulnerable moment where you shared that.
Yeah.
I would love to know where you're at in your agency. You've grown 60% over last year. Last year was your best year. What's the thing that you're working through right now that your team needs the most help on?
Yeah. So I continue to be vulnerable. So what's happened is this: we grew from 150 policies to 250 in about a year, per month. So now we're sitting at this I need to get to 350 now, and we are still getting used to the 250. But I thought this is where I thought, okay, I thought I got the right staff. I'm a phenomenal trainer for sales. That's what I feel like. And I have a sales manager and really pour into them a lot of training. I thought, you know what I'm probably missing from talking to a lot of big time agents. Like I'm talking, I think I'm a big and done very well. But there's some people out there, it's no secret that have like just demolished it. Like I've done well, they've done amazing, right? I've done great, they've done phenomenal, whatever you want to say. So
what's the old saying? There's always going to be somebody bigger, better, faster, stronger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know a couple of them, man. They, and some of them, too, really great friends out there that I don't know if they would appreciate me saying, so I'm not going to say their name. But done very well. But I've also learned, oh my God, you're spending 4X on each employee's marketing. And I have maximized each person's spend that I do spend, and now guess what happens? You throw out the money and you try to scale up. So we doubled our budget in the first. We went from 10,000, 20,000, but now we're pushing 30,000. But what I realized, though, that from 20 to 30 was the biggest struggle. Now I'm seeing like, the analytical side becoming more of a full-time job, like on a daily basis. Like, where am I spending my money? I mean, what mailers are working? What lead generation company? What SEO? What this? What that? What's working? What area? What state now? Because I have multiple states. What state? So the analytical side has been a new struggle for me because I've never been one that said, let me throw like all my money and waste it until I figure out which one sticks. No, I don't like that. I like to take risks that's calculated as a business owner, and I'm a huge risk taker, but shoot, you think I want to waste every dime that I have built on this business, we've built in this business on a couple months of just figuring it out now at 5 years in? No. So the analytical side has been a whole new dimension now too, and I have some friends that have almost full-time analytical or analysts within their agencies now. Yeah, for leads and stateside or whatnot, but they're using a VA or somebody local to help them with it. And I'll tell you, man, that's the new challenge for me, is to see why did I just go up 33%? And if you look at it year over year, 200%, 300% to what I spent last year, and I'm not 300% the sales. That's always like the thing is like I got the staff to the level I wanted, but now I'm like, I know they can write more because of their training, because of who they are. I just need to give them spend more money, and it worked and it worked and it worked. And then that last 10 grand, the last couple months, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm seeing this 33% jump now. So that's where I'm at now today. And I think, if I'm being honest with you, that is not what I love to do. I'm not like, I love looking at numbers. I'm pretty good at math. I've always been good at it. I like looking at statistics and numbers, but I do not want to be an analytical guy. I don't want to be a CPA. I don't want to be a bookkeeper. I don't want to do those things. I'm a people guy. I'm a sales guy. That's where I lean towards. Now, I love looking at numbers. They don't lie, but I don't want to do that. You know what I always say, Michael? Here, let me tell you something. You know what I always say, Mike? Where are you the most impactful? And I'm not the most impactful studying the numbers for my agency. I don't think that adds value to me. I can pay somebody considerably less than I would say that my job is worth. My value in the agency when I work in it is worth more than me spending on analytics and numbers and studying that. Like some agents, that's their jam. Know your number. Know your marketing. That's their jam, and I love that. That's not mine, though, and I'm not you. So, that's the difference, though. We kind of started to go off on, I will say this, because I always add so much, and Courtney's going to be like, I love so much. What should we unpack first? But I'm not you, and you're not me, so you should pick what you think your best, characteristic is, or skill, or tool within the agency, because your and mine listening today are not the same. We're not, Michael and I, Courtney, we might line up, but you may be completely different than us. I thought I was the best communicator because I could talk to anybody. And then people started to trust me. And then people started to follow me and ask me my decision. So I realized, oh my God, a teacher showed me, you're a great communicator. You should be the best. You're a great leader. You should be the best. That's what you should do. And I was like, there was a phenomenal advice. So I focused on that, So you might be analytical. Be the best at it. Figure out how to make your agency better through that. You'll be happier too.
Yep.
That's the whole lean into your strengths.
Yes.
Your weakness, you will never make your weakness. You will never bring it up to where your strengths are. Make
Never.
your strengths as strong as
Yeah.
you possibly can. Become a specialist in whatever it is that you're the best at. As you're saying this, though, because we go through the same process, and I have my team source all of our analytics. So we will literally put on a big whiteboard because I like to find the pattern. I like to pay attention to like patterns and trends because success always leaves clues. So I like to know, okay, this worked. This is what we need to double down on. But I'm not sourcing the information. I'm not sourcing it. They're providing it all to where I can look at it and very quickly go, this is the thing that I need. But even listening to you, I'm like, I wonder if you could, this is where we're having this relationship, the human technology relationship. The dance that we're doing is, can you plug this into Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini and say, give me the trends, show me what is going on?
And your CRM might even, like most CRMs can even do a lot of this data. And
they are. Well, they will run the data on what you've already quoted, but they won't run the data on where you don't need to quote and where you need to move to potentially. So that's where bringing in analytics stuff can show you, wow, you're closing at a rate that's 20, but your state's closing at 25. Maybe you're in the wrong zip codes. So I think there's a combination of like programs that don't communicate, that we need to gather info here, big company, little company, marketing, zip codes, states, so different, right? And that's why I love insurance is so different. And you know why I love it is because each state is different. Each state has a Department of Insurance. They're all so different. They're not the same. So there is like a really cool thing about insurance where you're like, no matter what state I go into, it's going to change slightly a little bit. Like I can't say, Indiana and Ohio are the same, or Kentucky, Pennsylvania, Michigan. They're all different. Very different.
They are. And for any one of you that may be listening to this right now, maybe you're just getting started, maybe you don't have the budget for it. Like, okay, Courtney and I just shared that we have somebody else that does this for us now. Go back 10 years ago when we started our agency, you're looking at the person that did it. Like I was running the numbers. I was running the reports every single week because I was also like you, Beau. I'm like, I need to know my numbers. I need to know where the business is coming from. I need to know every single thing. And so you, as a business owner, you have to know your numbers, and there's going to be seasons of your entrepreneurial career where you don't have the money to be able to delegate, and you have to do it yourself until you have enough money to delegate that. And so
true.
That's really important because I feel like sometimes we talk about where we're at today and it's not like the success just happens. Like 10 years ago,
the journey.
It was 80, 90-hour work weeks.
We were
running
faxing
damn
stuff
reports.
10
We
years
were
ago.
faxing. I was the janitor. We were going out and like it was everything. Like there is a
and that's
road.
so true. What a great point. I'm glad you said that because, but here's some advice too for those listening. You have a small agency and you can't do it. Well, if you buy from lead companies, ask them to help you. They will help you. They care because they get paid on how many leads you buy, right? And if you have success in leads, you buy more leads. If you have success in marketing, you buy more marketing. So use them. Use your, if you work for a captive, a lot of captive corporate employees have consultants that can help you with this. Now, they're not going to do it to the same level that maybe, we're learning to do it inside of our agency, but there is help out there for you, through the lead companies, through your corporation, through the companies that you sell through. And there are coaches and mentors, like Michael, Courtney, and I that are more than willing to like help you, figure that out in-house. But I'll be honest with you, quit being cheap nowadays. Like there's some people who I'm talking $100. If you could find $100 in your agency, find a CRM or a lead management system that can track your leads and just pay the money. Stop doing it in Excel. Stop asking your staff to handwrite things and fill it out on Google.
Dude,
that's crazy.
Are we even questioning a CRM in today's world of running a business?
Dude,
is this a real conversation? Like you're a business owner. You are a business owner. This is not Excel shit. This is how do we automate and make sure. Yeah, facts, not feelings. Like CRMs are what's going to help you have total control of your business every step of the way and track your numbers. And one thing that you said earlier I think you've still got one other question, but I want to reiterate.
Don't take my question.
As a young business owner, I was not able to see this, and I've learned this throughout my career talking to others. Look, if you can invest, let's say let's say $5,000 a month into a producer, and that producer, so that's what, 60 grand a year.
Yeah.
But they write $1 million in premium in a year.
Yeah.
That is a win.
Huge.
It's they have to write at least 600,000 to break even on that marketing spend. But I used to not have the ability as a young entrepreneur when I didn't have enough any money at all. I was like, oh shit, everything's got to be profitable right now.
No.
And so in the insurance space, the beautiful thing is you do have that residual income. So seeing through and having a vision of, if I invest this much into this person, they convert at this, what does that look like?
I think that helps to have a mentor too that guides you into, this is a calculated risk and this is being irresponsible. Okay, so I want to dive into this. This is my last question because I hear this all the time, and I would love your take, Beau, Michael, on this perspective. I hear people say, know your numbers, and that is what I call a fat word. There is nothing there. Okay. So when you say know your numbers, what exactly are you saying? What numbers do agents need to be paying attention to?
Man, so good. So one is money. You don't have money, you don't have business. So you need to know what's going out. You need to know what's coming in. Let's start there. A lot of people, when they say know your numbers that I know, are talking about marketing numbers. But I'll tell you this, I obsess slightly over numbers of my agency and helping other people find the numbers. Cause like I said, they don't always lie. Like if you know that, okay, if I write 100 items, I know that 45 are going to be homes. Like if I know my numbers, if that's what it is, but I say know your numbers like this. When you're in insurance, you should know your retention. You should know it like the back of your hand, what it changes by the month, where it's at. You should know what % of sales are homes and autos, because some captives are 6 months, some are 1 year. You should know what you're selling, what mix you're selling, how many items you're selling per household, because there's always an opportunity. Michael and Courtney, you ever heard like sell more to who you're already selling to? Like that's an easy way to increase your sales, is to just sell a little bit more to the people you're selling to. Doesn't mean sell them something they don't need. It just means sell deeper into the house, like financial services, right? So sell deeper into the household. You need to know how many. Okay, you need to know this. The companies give you minimums, not goals. One, I've never had a company say, this is your goal. It's always been relayed as, this is your minimum. You don't hit this, you don't get this. If you get to this next minimum, you then get this. So they give you minimums, not goals. You need to know how to figure out what your goals should be. I figure out goals ahead of the year. I go into my previous year. Did I make the month that I wanted to make? One. Because if I didn't, last year means nothing to me. Okay? So beating last year means nothing if I didn't do well last year. So if I blew up last year and I want to blow up this year, so when I started the year, I put on a 30% increase over LY, but when I purchased another agency in July, I now needed to double. So I knew that, but I break it down, and I'm getting to where I'm going. Trust me. When you know what the big business is, you need to know that your staff knows what their numbers are, meaning that how do I get to where I need to get to with my sales goals? So if I say, I'm going to make a number super easy. I need 100 G's a month, and I have 4 producers. That's 25K. Now I need to teach those 25K how many calls, how many phone calls, how many households they need to quote, how many they need to sell to hit the 25K. Now in my state, I'm like kind of going off the top of my head. Let's say it's 25. No, it's like 35 sales, 35 items. I'm just kind of guesstimating right now, but 35 items. I think it's somewhere in that range. So 35 items. I need to teach them what close rate is on average and how many people they need to quote on a daily basis. And I always say this, you want to build a mountain? Starts at the bottom. What's at the bottom? Phone calls and talk time. And Michael, Courtney, this is one of the only businesses, if there's another one, please tell me, because I've been saying this for a while, that you can't just say, Michael, I want to buy insurance from you. You need a quote. You can't just buy. You need a quote. You need to qualify. Can't just say, I want to buy insurance from you. I love when people say that. It's like, well, we need to do a quote first, but I wish it could just be as easy as that. So we need to teach people that what type of activities do you need to generate to hit your numbers? And you need to know them. When I call my team, what's your number for the month? Where are you trending and what do you need to? And guess what does that for me is Michael, I wanted to say this early. Quit player hating and automate. Okay, get yourself a system. I don't know why it came to me. I've never said that, but I was like, you're like, is this a question? I'm like, quit player hating and automate. Put the number in and that'll help you in this lead generation. CRM will help you. So quit player hating, spend $100. So that is what I mean. So when you know big, like my little agency, I know what the numbers are at the top. And then I know, how do I take them, break them down, and give everybody their numbers so they know them? Because that's the most important. Because if I remove the speedometer from your car today, do you know how fast you're going? No, but you could guesstimate. You can. And the speedometer for my business is knowing those big numbers, but the speedometer for my staff is like, here's where you're going, but I need you to go faster. So that's the CRM.
You're up.
So
Don't play it.
I love all that, Beau. I agree.
All I could think of was, we're talking about practice? We're talking about CRM?
Practice.
So I agree with everything you just said, and I didn't write all of them down, but you definitely need your retention numbers. Absolutely. I don't think you said it in this language, but average app per household.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Close.
You do.
You said that, but I'm just summarizing here. You said closing rates, and so if somebody's wondering how you factor closing rates, like how many people are you quoting and how many of those quotes are converting, and I'm going to go a step further and say how many conversations do you need to have to convert. All right. That's the closing rate. So, and that's what I believe. I believe that insurance, I just wrote a book on it, quote 3, how to make multiple six figures in any sales organization. Like emails are not quotes, text messages are not quotes. Like you have to have conversations with people, which I love. Your lead is amount of time on the phone, right? So that's one of your lead measures. Marketing spend, you absolutely need to know. A lot of people right now, like there's a lot of talk around profit centers and how your employees need to be profit centers. So if you're wondering right now, well, how do I even measure the profitability on a producer? A real easy measure, just simple is how much premium are they producing on a monthly basis and how much are you paying them? So if you produce, for example, if they produce, let's say, $40,000 in premium a month, and let's just say you get paid 10% on that. That means you're making $4,000, and if you're paying them $4,000, then you're breaking even. If you're paying them $3,500, you're in the profit. If you're paying them $6,000, well, you're in the whole $2,000. But you got to factor I like to factor renewals into that as well. So you need your employees. And I'm also going to go back to the basics here of know your numbers, of simple budgeting. Your fixed expenses, your variable expenses, and your average income coming in on a monthly basis. You need to know those numbers. I think that's going to be about all I was going to summarize.
I mean, you're right. Like it's the numbers within the agency. It's budgeting. It's marketing. It's actually setting a budget. You'd be surprised no, you wouldn't, because you work with a ton of people. Most people would be surprised to know that most insurance agents do not have a budget. They just... Or their budget is extremely small. The ones that do have it, it's way smaller than it should be for marketing. But that also comes down to knowing, what is a high-level producing agency? What percent of their income on average are they spending in leads, on people? And it's usually much higher in agencies that are growing at a high pace, but so is their bonus. So is their pay.
Absolutely. And here's the other, because I'm going to go back to the employee, but another thing that a lot of agents don't know is how long a customer is typically a customer.
Ooh, lifetime value.
Lifetime value of a customer.
Yes.
Like that's really, because
what's the average?
if you really want to understand, like, okay, how much can I pay my person? Or, hey, here's my marketing spend to acquire. Here's how much I'm going to pay my team. How long is this customer going to be with me? That's when you can when you really want to know your numbers, you got to know how long a customer is going to be with you, because that allows you to make really good business decisions based off of data.
Man, you know what else I love what you said is that so many insurance agents want their team to pay for the leads they buy today. So I want you to pay today, like for those. And yes, but you look at the lifetime value. You look at like, okay, when is this going to pay back? Sometimes because the way that they're structuring pay within captive and independent world now, there's a lot more money up front. So meaning that like people are cash flowing much faster than they ever did before. But retention matters because right now, today, we were talking futuristic guessing, by the way. Today, my retention still really matters. And if I got a hole in the back of my boat and everything I bring in is going out the back, it's going to cost way more money. And the lifetime of them staying is going to be much shorter. And it's going to cost way more money to run my business. So that's when I said, like, sometimes I think the companies are directing their underwriting and their rating towards customers they think will stay longer, have deeper, assets, financial assets, liquid, whatever that they can hold on to and then keep them longer. And Michael, what was the old like retention? How much did it increase when you sold, life insurance or a financial product? What did the retention increase? Do you remember anything like
significantly?
that?
So, and now this is a little different based off of carrier, but most carriers have data out there that if someone has a financial services product with you, they're going to be with you a minimum of 10 to 12 years.
I would agree. People get overwhelmed moving home and auto, let alone a life insurance policy, because it's really not, you really can't move it. You can rewrite it.
And here's another thing is think about what happens when they trust you enough to invest with you, or you help them with an annuity. Like you're having conversations that they just don't have very often. And so that's why I believe, going back to the question you asked, like you have to be a financial services agency moving forward to be able to present yourself and really lock yourself into customer relationships and just the future of what this looks like. But man, Beau,
we could do this.
This has
all
been fantastic.
day.
Yeah, I feel like
Honestly,
we could keep going. If
blast
somebody
with
wanted
you guys.
if somebody wanted to work with you, connect with you, follow you, support you, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
Well, one, this is what I care about. One is I care about helping others. Do you know I trademarked "We love insurance, but we love people more" because it was my mantra. I loved it so much that I was like, I don't want anybody to steal it. I better trademark that. So I don't mind if people say it, but I own it, if that makes sense. But here's why. Is because I really do love people more than this business that I get to do. And being able to help people through like your podcast, being a guest, or the Conviction of a Leader podcast, I just want to be able to offer value in this life and to know that I made a difference in this life. So if you want me to help you make a difference in your life and your business, just listen to the Conviction of a Leader. And of course, I would love for people to work with me, and you can find me on Facebook. The Conviction of a Leader is on Facebook. And the convictionofaleader.com is done. I just need to make it live. So maybe when this comes out, it'll already be live, but that would be a way to find me. Now, you find me on Facebook, Beau Vincent, Beau, like beautiful. Beau B. Vinny on Instagram. I have Conviction of a Leader there too. And the podcast is on. Michael will be coming out soon. Michael and I, maybe before this one, will be coming out soon, but it's on all podcast platforms and YouTube. And I'll be honest with you, YouTube is lacking a little bit, but it's there. I don't put a lot of marketing into it, but the views aren't there, but the quality content is there because we bring the best only on it. Michael and I do coach. I do individual coaching and I do team training. Why don't you just shoot me an email at beauvincent@gmail.com. We're going to go that route. The personal email, personal touch. You reach out to Beau Daddy and he's going to help you. Okay? Quit play-a-hating and automate your coaching and your training.
We got Beau Daddy. We got B. Vinny. I love all these nicknames, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So good. So good.
I love you guys. I appreciate you guys so much. And if I may make you feel good for a second, is thank you for bringing me on. I know how hard it is to open up your platform and allow people to step on, because you don't realize it, and maybe you do. You put a stamp on the person you allow on your platform, and I appreciate you allowing me on this platform you built. It's beautiful. Weaver Sales Academy. I love your books. I love who you guys are, what you stand for. So I appreciate you bringing me on. It means a lot to me. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Aw, thanks, Court.
Yeah, I know.
I
Like,
don't know.
It used to
not
do
as
it on
good.
Riverside
Oh
too.
man, this is so good, so good. Beau, this has been fantastic. I feel like we're gonna have to do this again very soon. For those of you tuning in, regardless if it is on the podcast or the YouTube, look, we appreciate you, and I never want this to just feel like it is an automated thing that I say.
Yeah.
Like, time and attention are by far our most important assets. We truly do appreciate you tuning in to the Buzz. We appreciate your support. Go out, make it great, make a difference, go towards those big goals, run towards those big dreams. In any way we can support you along the way, let us know. Beau, thanks again, brother.